Well, hello. Welcome to the show. This is That Real Estate Show. I'm so glad that you could join us today. My name is Tim, and I'll be your host as we dive into all things real estate. The goal of this show is to be educational and insightful, and hopefully we'll have a little fun along the way. So this real estate show is not a significant source of calcium, but 4 out of 5 dentists do recommend That Real Estate Show to aid in the prevention of tooth decay. So with that, I'm going to go right into today's episode. We have a very special guest. Mandy Miller from Province Mortgage is going to be with us. She's going to talk about the recent rate cut that the Feds did on Wednesday and what that might look like for you if you're a first-time home buyer or if you're someone who's in the market to purchase a house. And then we will talk about why do you need a realtor? Why hire a realtor in the first place? And what is a realtor? We're going to go into some home improvements that you can do this fall, and then we'll do some market data. We'll look at Windsor Locks, which is where I am located, and we'll also look at Bristol. So let's jump right in. I'm going to bring in Mandy Miller. Hi, Mandy.
Good morning. How are you, Tim?
Good. I'm excellent. How are you?
I am good. Good. Lovely Saturday morning.
Did you survive Halloween? That's the big question.
I did. I don't get many people coming to my house on my road, so dropped the kiddo off to go do her own thing, and I had a lovely night with my husband playing some pool. So
Hey,
all works good for me.
All
no
right.
candy to be eaten at my house.
Well, yeah, you can come over and help me because I got a ton of candy.
All right, perfect.
So,
I know where to go.
So as we get started, people may not know who you are. So tell us a little bit about you and about Province Mortgage.
So my name is Mandy Miller. I am a branch manager here at Province Mortgage. We just opened a new branch in Wallingford, Connecticut. Province Mortgage is a residential mortgage company. They've been around we just had our 20th anniversary over the summer. We have several, we're more of that smaller local mortgage company. We're mostly just New England. So we have Rhode Island branches, Massachusetts, some New Hampshire, Connecticut. We now have 3 main branches. We have Shelton, Wallingford, and West Hartford. And so that's all of your residential home buying and financing needs.
Awesome. Now you guys did just open is it a new office or did you relocate there in Wallingford on Center Street?
Yep. So it's a new branch on Center Street, 116 Center Street.
Awesome. So, of course, everyone's probably talking about it. It's probably forefront in their mind, the rate cut that the Fed did on Wednesday. So kind of go into that. So what does that mean? If I'm a first-time home buyer, does that mean I'm going to get a lower mortgage, or what does that look like?
Sure. So the Fed rate cut, it was not what we expected. Well, actually, I take that back. Everyone in the lending side already expected that we were going to have that 25 basis point interest rate reduction, right? Through the federal interest rate, right? The reserves. Now the blind side that we were thrown was actually what the chairman Jerome Powell had said during the presentation, was basically that he more so took back the security of what we thought we were going to have an additional rate cut in December. So in September, when they released their dot plan, their projection, it was almost a surety from the lending side that we were going to see an additional rate cut in December, which he kind of backtracked on that a little bit and took away that that concreteness that we were going to see that. So actually, rates increased when we had this 25 basis point, and that's the reason why, is that when we had already projected, and we call it kind of baked in the rate already into our interest rate. So we've already seen that interest rate reduction in the last 30 days and projected that, because you have to understand, when you go into a mortgage, you're going to be locking in that interest rate in for what we are projecting when you're going to close. So you might close 30 days, 45 days, 60 days out. So that's when the mortgage companies are actually selling that onto the MBS market, the secondary market. So we've already kind of baked in those rates and those drops into
Mhm.
our rates already. So to see that we might not anticipate that 25 an additional rate cut in December, lenders actually pulled back a little bit, and that's why actually we saw about an 8% increase in interest rates by the end of this past week.
Wow, so that's really interesting. So a rate cut at the Fed level does not necessarily equate to lower interest rates for mortgages. That's what I'm hearing you say. Is that correct?
It is correct in the sense that the timing of it. So we had already anticipated this decrease, this
Hmm.
rate cut. So 30 days ago, 25 days ago, when we saw interest rates start dropping, we were anticipating this rate decrease already, this rate cut. So now going forward, and some lenders were already anticipating, most of them were, an additional rate cut in December. So to pull back on maybe that's not going to be an actuality, now
Hmm.
they had to kind of restructure and recalculate what their anticipated rates are going to be 30 days from now.
Now, everyone loves a good prediction. So, what do you think the Fed will do in December if things kind of continue the way they are? If job growth stays steady or increases, and if inflation kind of holds where it is now, do you think that maybe in December they'll kind of do another flipperoo and they will lower rates, or do you think they might stay where we are?
That's a good question. So Jerome Powell is very, very structured on the way that they project and they put these interest rate cuts together. He is very market data centered. So if unemployment rates stay steady, if inflation stays below the projections right now, if the non-farm payroll numbers keep staying in that very low amount, they've been tracking and trending lower each projection. So if all of those three stay the same, I think it's likely they will still do the rate cut in December.
All right. So we will definitely have to have you back in December to talk about, what happens and see how it shakes out. So so tell me, with Province Mortgage, do you guys have any special products or something that's unique to you guys that you offer for home buyers?
So I think Province Mortgage has, we have a plethora of different programs, right? So it's not your big bank where, they are going to specialize in that AAA paper, meaning, perfect credit score, very solid income borrower, very risk adverse clients. So we have, I feel we can fit the need of almost every possible client, right? So we have bank statement loan, programs. We have people that only make 1099 programs. We have DSCR programs, meaning
Hmm.
if you're looking at an investment property and maybe your portfolio is very high and it's a very difficult. We can't really approve you based on your income because you have so many investment properties. Then we have DSCR products where, it basically, you can buy an investment property with just as long as the rental income covers the mortgage note. And I do quite a number of those. And then, of course, I feel like I specialize in my first time home buyers with the CHAFA programs that are available through the state of Connecticut. So the first time home buyer, I always see if they can, if they're eligible for that program first and foremost, because they offer below market interest rates. It's not credit score dependent. So
Hmm.
you're going to get that very low AAA bonded below market interest rate through the state of Connecticut if you fit the first time home buyer criteria. They also offer some great down payment assistance programs. The time to own program is still going very strong. So, there's that $25,000 of potential completely forgivable down payment assistance. And, that really suits the need for a lot of our first time home buyers that really, they struggle to
Yeah.
to save that kind of that amount, because any real transaction is going to cost, between the minimum down payment requirements and the closing cost requirements, you need about $20,000 for the average $350,000 purchase.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought that up, and if we have you back in December with the next rate cut, maybe we can dive a little bit deeper into a time to own, because I love that program. It is so great for first time home buyers. And like you said, for people who maybe are struggling a little bit to be able to cover closing costs and down payment and all those things. So I definitely think that would be something that our viewers would like to kind of dig into a little bit more and understand how that works. So just as we close up, how can people get a hold of you? If I have a question and I want to talk to Mandy, how would I get a hold of you?
Sure. So cell, email, Facebook at this point, right? Every social media
Yes.
platform. But the easiest way is really, just you could text me 203-530-4361 is my cell number. I am available. I hate to say it 24/7, but I am. That's the nature of this business.
That is, we
And
are.
yeah, I'd be happy to meet up at my new office. I've seen a lot more people. They really want to meet face to face. And, I appreciate that because I think it's really, it helps form that connection. And, my job here is to really educate people and, help them through, especially with my first time home buyers, that guidance of, just getting them through the finish line, making sure they're completely comfortable and they know exactly what they're getting into.
Right. And, because we got away from that during COVID, all the
Yeah.
in-person meetings stopped. And so we started doing everything electronically. And I think that now that that's over, it really is important. It's not just important to meet your mortgage lender in person. It's important to meet your realtor in person.
Absolutely.
Talk with your realtor about your hopes, your dreams, what are you looking for? And then they can sit down and explain the market, especially in the area that you're looking for, what you can expect. And, that first time meeting is so important because not everybody's a good fit, and that's something I'll probably talk about a little later in the show. But you should interview your agent. You should interview your mortgage lender because not everybody, like I said, is a good fit. And I think meeting in person is definitely, we should get back to that. We need that personal connection, with our clients and with the people that we're doing business with. So there on the bottom of the screen, you guys can see her web address, if you want to find her online, her cell phone number. They do have an app. Tell us a little bit about the app. So you can apply right through your phone for a mortgage. Is that how the app works?
Absolutely. Yep. So, really, we're right there in the 20th century. We
Right.
have our
Everybody's
mobile
got an
app,
right?
right? It's like everybody has an app, right? But no, it's very user friendly. Usually I just send it right off to the client. They can download it right to their phone, fill out the application right there. It might take 5-10 minutes tops. And then actually when you get into contract, even uploading documents, you can do it and scan it right through the app. Milestones that are achieved once you're in contract, you'll know right when your loan is going to underwriting, when your appraisal comes in. So it's really, it's a very helpful tool. There's also a great mortgage calculator, which I love on there. So if you're out shopping, once you get pre-approved, you can just plug in those numbers, knowing your parameters, and you'll know exactly what your monthly payment is looking like, so that I feel that makes my clients much more comfortable with the whole process because, they know exactly what that monthly payment is going to be and before they even look at the house.
Yeah, excellent. Well, Mandy, thank you again for being on the show. My very first guest. You've been absolutely a pleasure, and we'll have you back definitely at some point. We'll talk about that a time to own program, and we'll see what the Fed does with the rates.
We're all looking forward to that. All right. Well, thanks so much for having me, Tim. It was a pleasure.
Bye-bye. All right. That was awesome. And Mandy is just an amazing person. I've met her a few times. We haven't had the pleasure yet of doing business together, but she's done some talks in our office, and she's definitely fantastic. So definitely check her out. So right now we're going to talk about our main topic for today. Why should I hire a realtor? So before we get into why, I want to talk about what is a realtor, because maybe some people don't know the difference. There is actually a difference. So being a realtor is actually a designation. It's not a job title. So if you're an attorney or if you're a doctor, that's your job title. But being a realtor is actually a designation that you get by being a member of the National Association of Realtors. So there's actually 3 levels. So there's the National Association of Realtors. There's your state association. So here in Connecticut, there's the Connecticut Association of Realtors. And then you're a member of a specific board. So I'm a member of the New Haven Middlesex Board of Realtors. So that's what makes me a realtor. So just because I got my license to sell real estate, that does not make me a realtor, that just makes me a real estate agent or a real estate professional. Some people go by a lot of different terms, but we kind of use that term realtor interchangeably as if everyone is a realtor. And that's actually not the case. You actually have to be a member of the board to be considered a realtor. That's why if you ever notice, the word realtor is always typed out in capital letters, and there's a little R next to it because it's registered, mark for the designation of being a realtor. So just to understand what that is. So anyone can be a real estate agent. So when you first get your license, you're already a real estate agent or professional, or a broker. If you're a broker, you're a real estate broker. But you have to be a member of the board to become a realtor. So that's what the difference is there. And I want to show you this. I created this little PowerPoint for us. So why should I hire a realtor? So what is so important? So if you're a seller, if you're thinking of selling your house and you think, well, why do I need you? What do I need a realtor for? So here's some statistics I got right from the National Association of Realtor website. So if you want to go to nar.realtor, that will bring you to the website. And I believe all that information is for public consumption. You don't have to be a member to view it. But this is where I got all this information. So if you're thinking of selling, 90% of sellers sold with the assistance of a real estate agent, which is up 1% from last year. These statistics are from 2024. And only 6% of those were FSBO, which stands for for sale by owner. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. So your typical for sale by owner actually sells for less. So why would you leave money on the table? And you can see right there on the slide. So the median home sold in 2023 was $380,000, which was lower than the price of the median sold with a realtor of $435 or $435,000, excuse me. So why would you leave that money on the table? Why would you walk away from, what is that, $55,000? Why would you leave that on the table? And if the argument is, well, I don't want to pay a commission, well, that takes into consideration the commission. So you're not going to pay $55,000 in commission. If you negotiate, say, a 6% commission fee with your realtor who lists your house, that you're still going to make out. You're still going to make plenty of money, and you're not going to feel that in the bottom line. Especially, I mean, at $380,000, that's pretty significant. So, and with commissions too. So there's the lawsuit, which I'll talk about probably more in depth in a different episode. But with the lawsuit, it just made it more clear as to where the commission goes. So when you hire a real estate agent or your realtor to list your house, you have the ability to negotiate how much that is. And that's always been the case. The real estate commissions have always been negotiable. It's actually right in the contract in bold letters, right at the top of the page. And so if you don't want to pay 6%, you can negotiate that. But in most cases, sometimes what happens is that 6%, we split that with the buyer's agent. If the seller wants to pay that buyer's agent for the work that they do to bring that seller to the bring that buyer to the table, we would take that 3%, or that 6% and say, okay, well, we'll give 3% to the buyer's agent and we'll keep the 3% for ourselves. So we're not really making 6%. We're making more like 3%. And then when you really break it down, with your broker fees and with your licensing fees that you have to pay every year and your board dues, you're really not making 3%. So if the argument is, well, realtors make too much money, trust me, we don't. And even if we did make too much money, we certainly we earn it because we work very hard. And that'll be something I talk about in another episode too, about everything that a buyer's agent does for a buyer and everything that a seller's agent does for a seller. But you see here, so 66% of recent sellers use an agent that was referred to them or use an agent that they had previously worked with. So that's super important. And that's why realtors will constantly be sending you information. Maybe they send you market updates every couple of months about your house, even if you just bought one, because they want to stay top of mind. They want to stay in front of you because when you decide to sell, they want to be the first person that you think of. And 81% of recent sellers contacted only one agent before finding the right agent that they worked with to sell their home. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But as I said before, when we were talking with Mandy, it's really important to interview at least 2, if not 3 different agents. And I would do that, like I said, even for your mortgage lender, because not everybody's a good fit. I've worked with some very difficult people in the past who, maybe I should have just cut loose and said, you know what, I don't think we're a good fit. Maybe a different agent would be someone who could really help you. And vice versa. There are clients who might just think that I'm not a good fit for them. I had one client, I went and showed her a house. She came with her parents, and she took one look at me, and because I have long hair, it's pulled back in a ponytail right now, so you can't really tell, but because I had long hair, I think that surprised her, because my headshot had me with short hair, and then she ghosted me after that. So she didn't want to work with me because I didn't look like my picture, I guess. So, not everyone's a good fit. So definitely interview at least 2, maybe 3 realtors before you make that decision. Then what if you're a buyer? Why should you hire a realtor if you're a buyer? 88% of home purchases were made through a real estate agent. So the importance of using a realtor: home buyers primarily sought help from an agent in finding the right home. So that's 49%. So almost half of home buyers needed assistance finding the right home. 14% negotiating the terms of the sale. And 40% of buyers found their agent through a friend, neighbor, or relative. So again, that's why you probably get all sorts of information from realtors. I think I heard once that the average person knows 6 different realtors. So competition is fierce. So that's why you're constantly being bombarded, especially if you've ever gone online and clicked for information on a home, which I'll get into next episode. What happens when you do that? Like when you go to Zillow.com, or if you go to Realtor.com or Redfin or Homes.com, what is that? What happens? Why do you get all these calls afterwards? And 88% of home buyers would use their agent again or recommend them to others. So this is a little bit of why, if you were thinking of buying or selling, why it's important to use a realtor. And here's what I would say: if you get arrested and you need a lawyer, would you represent yourself? Probably not. You would hire a professional. If you had a DUI charge or something, you wouldn't represent yourself in court. And if you needed an operation, if you needed to have your appendix removed, would you do that yourself? Probably not. You probably would go to a doctor. And just like a doctor and an attorney, you would probably seek out the best one. You would interview or ask questions to multiple doctors. Ask your friends for, recommendations. Who would they go to? So it's kind of the same thing. So if you're not going to do an operation on yourself and you're not going to represent yourself in court, then why would you do probably the biggest transaction of your life on your own? Why would you not want a professional to help you with that? And it's not that you're not smart. I'm not saying that you're not smart enough to do it. Everyone's smart enough to do it. But you have to have a license to be a realtor or the real estate agent. You have to have a license to cut hair. So if your hairstylist has to be licensed by the state in order to be able to cut hair, how much more important is it, because you have to have a license to buy and sell real estate, to use a professional to do that. Again, if you think you can do it on your own, I mean, again, it has nothing to do with intelligence. I'm sure you're very smart and you can figure it out. But when it comes to the negotiating and what happens when a problem arises, what happens during home inspection, what happens, if there's a material defect with the house, we'll talk about that in a different episode as well. But so you see my point. So if you're not going to do surgery, because you're not a doctor, even if you are a doctor, you still wouldn't operate on yourself. You would have somebody else operate on you, and you wouldn't represent yourself in court. If you were arrested and charged with a crime, you would hire a professional to give you the best possible representation in that court proceeding. And really, buying or selling a house is really no different. You would want the best possible person that, you know, fits your style and your personality that you want to work with. And of course, trust is so super important. And we'll go into that in another episode as well. We'll talk about the code of ethics for real estate agents and realtors and what that means, and the fiduciary duties that that realtors owe their clients. So here on the screen, I thought we would go into, since it's fall and we are in full swing now that Halloween is over. So of course now it's all about Christmas, right? So everyone's going to get their Christmas decorations out, and I can't wait to decorate for Christmas. I love Christmas. Christmas is one of my favorite holidays. But here are 5 things that are high ROI. ROI stands for return on investment. So things that you can do in your house right now that will translate into a higher selling price if you are thinking of selling your house. So number 1, invest in hardwood flooring. That's the popular thing right now. Carpet, I like carpet personally, but hardwood floors seem to be where it's at. Buyers are looking for hardwood floors throughout the house. Upgrade your insulation. That's a big one too, because, you know, heating and cooling costs aren't going down; they are going up, up, up. So having updated insulation in your home would definitely save you money. You know, if you're not planning on selling your house, that would save you in heating and cooling your house, but definitely would give you a higher return on your investment if you did decide to sell. Renovate your closet. See, that's something that I think a lot of times goes overlooked by home sellers, but updating your closet space, definitely something that would give you a good return. Update your laundry room. Again, another area of the house that probably goes overlooked. You know, we take it for granted. Maybe it's in the basement and you don't think about it. You only just go down there when you have to do laundry. But creating a nice little laundry area, big impact when it comes to home buyers. And even just painting a room, you know, freshening up the paint in your house will definitely do a lot in making your house more attractive to home buyers. So let's go on now to our local market report. This is for October of 2025, and this is for Windsor Locks. You can see that the median list price is $339,400, which is a little bit down from September. And just to explain, if you don't know what median is, that's the middle number. So from 1 to 10, the middle number is 5. So that would be the median number. So it's not the highest, it's not the lowest, it's not the average, but it's the middle number. So there are definitely houses in Windsor Locks that are selling for more than $339, and there are definitely houses that are selling for less than $339, but that's the middle number. Active listings for October, we have 12, and that is up 20% from September. And the days on market, 26, which is down 31%. So what that means is, so in the average, or again, the not the average, but the median, so that middle number, that house stayed on the market for just under a month. And there are 2 new listings as of the day I printed this, which I think was 4 or 5 days ago. There were 2 new listings in the last 5 days. So people often will ask, you know, when is the best time to list your house? Really, the answer is when you are ready. That's the best time to list your house. There's a lot of people will argue springtime is a good time because it's right before the market gets hot. And, you know, typically the market stays hot during the summertime because, of course, the weather's nice, the days are longer, you have more sunlight, so you're able to go out, see houses in the bright sunshine and the warmth. You don't have to bundle up and trudge through snow to go see a house. So that's why, like, May, June, July, August, those 4 months are usually the hottest when it comes to the number of sales. If you look at sales statistics, I'm sure those 4 months you'll see a big peak, and then it'll start to tail off in September because school starts. And then people are like, well, I don't want to buy a house now because I don't want to have to, transfer my kid to a new school, or, I don't want to have to pull them out mid-year or something like that. So that's why in September, you'll see the market kind of dip a little bit. And then, of course, November, December are usually slower because of Thanksgiving and Christmas. So that's the market report for Windsor Locks. Here's the market report for Bristol. So if these two areas are of interest to you, if you have any questions about your area, if you want to see a market analysis for the houses where you live, shoot me an email, send me a text message. I should have put that up on the screen, but I didn't think about it before now. So my cell phone number is 860-707-5985. You can text me or call me at that number. That's my direct line. Texting is probably better only because you never know if you catch somebody, in the bathroom or, cooking dinner or something like that, so they can get back to you when they have a minute. So I always would say, text me first before you call. But, if you have questions about real estate, if you have questions about your house, if you'd like a free market analysis to know what your house is worth, I can do that for you. That's at no cost to you and under no obligation to list your house with me. But it's a great way to introduce yourself to, a realtor. Let them get to know you. You get to know them. Get to know how much your property would be worth in the market today. And then if you're interested in selling, then you could, have that conversation as well. So in Bristol, you can see the median list price of houses, $369,900. So again, that's the middle number, not the highest or lowest or average, but that middle number. And that is up 4% from September. The number of active listings, 69. That's quite a few. And that's even down 13% from September. Your median days on market, 26. So again, right around the same time as in Windsor Locks, just short of a month. And as of when I first printed this, there were 11 new listings. So if that's an area that you're interested in, give me a call, shoot me a text message. We can find, I can show you the houses that are available in that area and hopefully find one that maybe fits your needs. So that pretty much wraps up the show for today. So next week's topic is the truth about Zillow. Now, I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. So nobody really is talking about it. And I don't know that most home buyers or even sellers really understand what Zillow and homes.com, realtor.com, Redfin, Open Door, all these websites, what they really are and what they really do. So we will talk about that next week. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.